Okay, it is another day working on the Honda Odyssey. Last time I was here actually working on it, I had gotten the rear motor mounts built, but they're not mounted to the chassis, as well as the front motor mounts, same thing. They're well made, but not mounted to the chassis. Then at the end of that day, I had gone to the Home Depot, and I picked up 48 inches of black oxide pipe, 1 inch inside diameter, which makes the Schedule 40 pipe 1.25 inch outside diameter. So that is going to be used to then tie this upright into the rest of the frame. And this back section of chassis is booger welded to the factory chassis, so I'm going to go ahead, clean that up, and run some better welds on it in the spots where it mounts to the factory section. So like here, up here I guess, and then this bar will probably be okay. For now, I don't know if I have to move that for the exhaust, which I'll get into in a second. So yeah, I'm going to make sure everything is where it's supposed to be and the mounts are going to work. Then I'm just going to pull the welder over here and then tack weld a few spots where it attaches, or where the motor mount's attached to the frame area. Then I'm going to pull the engine out of it so I can get good welds all around everything. And yeah, so the exhaust. These pieces here are what I have for exhaust that came with that engine. I don't know if I mentioned it before, but this engine was originally somehow was acquired by my buddy through a golf cart tractor or something or other. He ended up with that engine and this exhaust that went with it for however it was mounted or whatever it was mounted in. So this part is good. I could use that. This section of the exhaust though is completely trashed. You can poke your finger right through there and go all up ham inside of her. So I managed to track down this exact exhaust setup just in the factory setup, not this redneck version. I ended up having to spend more money than I wanted on it to get it to my door, but I do have one of these setups now on the way. So yeah, and there's not really any other choice but to go with this setup because of the way that it ends up being routed. It actually routes pretty perfectly, or will route pretty perfectly out this side and then just kind of straight back, and then the exit is just kind of down. So it pretty much works like I need for my purposes, so it's money worth spent. So yeah, I'm gonna get started on that. Okay, just got finished welding for a second. Got a couple decent tacks on the motor mounts. They don't really have to actually support the weight of the engine because I'm about to take it out. So it's just there to hold the mounts in place while I go ahead and do some nice welds on it. So I'm just going to go ahead, lift that out of there, and continue on my way. Okay, there's the engine hole with the engine and not in it. So I'm just going to go ahead and here and weld up all this stuff solid, as well as there and over there. I got to weld this stuff up solid. Then I need to cut that up and affix it into here to tie it in. And I need to actually cut the top of this off to also allow for carburetor space. And that will be mostly good to go. I discovered, however, that I need to waller out these slots where the bolts line up, because the threads of the bolts end up getting caught up on the motor mount area here when you have to take it in and pull it out. So to alleviate that and make it a little bit easier to pull in and out, or remove the engine and put it back in, I'm going to just waller out those slots to allow me to take it in and out a little bit. Then after that, of course, like I said, I'm going to do some booger welds treatments to fix up the rear end of this a bit. Selectively, of course, so I don't grind away a weld and have it all fall apart, but that's what I gotta do. Okay, welcome back to the project here. I went ahead and did a bunch of stuff. All of this stuff is welded back in nice and solid. The mounts, the front crossbar, these are welded nice and solid. And what I just did right before I turned the camera on is chopped off this thing right here with the angle grinder, and then went ahead with the grinding wheel and smoothed it all out, sort of, so it has a nice even spot. And then I went and just made a block off plate. This is approximately 1/8 inch. So I went and found a piece of 1/8 inch flat iron, chopped a little section of it off that fits right on top of there nice. I'm going to go ahead and weld that in, you know, like you've seen 1.5 million times, tack it in, then run full beads around it. The only thing that's a little bit weird here is because whatever this is had a bunch of holes drilled in it from whatever this came from, if it was this chassis or this was added. There's a couple spots where I'm going to have to do some filling to make it look kind of okay. Not ideal, but it is what it is. Then after that, I'm going to take the engine and put it back in here so that I can probably make sure that this is at the right angle to dangle, because right now it's got a lot of flex to it. So to get the engine to fit right, it might have to be flexed more like this, or it might have to get flexed more like that. So in order to make sure it's right, I'm going to put the engine back in there. Then I'm going to go ahead and start cutting up and fitting in the black oxide pipe to tie it into the cage somewhere back here. It ain't pretty, but it's in there. It ain't pretty metal either. I made up some quick and dirty extra supports to tie into the cage. Came out decently well. I had to sort of hand notch them to get it around the frame there, which reminded me of the fact that I need to actually pick myself up an actual notcher. It would have made that a hell of a lot easier, but hey, you know, it is what it is. So I'm just going to go ahead and burn those in permanently with my glue gun, and yeah, we'll go from there, see what happens. Alright, I won't make you touch it, but they're all burnt in and they're all really hot. I also went ahead and fixed up those welds down along the bottom of that so they aren't so boogery and actually got some penetration in it. But yeah. Next up, I guess I kind of have to wait for the exhaust to come in the mail. So I guess I'm going to start packing up and come back another day. And gotta move some stuff around. I gotta move the racing lawnmower to another spot. It's not going anywhere, just gonna move it to another spot. So yeah. There she is. Oh, I gotta still find frickin' tires for this thing.